It is back to school season, and while the kids are continuing, well, hopefully, to build a love of learning, you, homemaker, can also educate. You can be a lifelong learner, and you can do it on University YouTube. I'm Krista of the blog and YouTube channel Hilltop in the Valley. Today I want to share some YouTube channels you can find that will help your homemaking skills. Help as you seek to nurture and nourish your family, can maybe even save you some money and give you more quality time and control over your household. Earlier this year, I shared the power of grandma's habits. These were 100-year-old habits that are considered therapy today. Well, many of the habits from grandma could arguably be considered skills, from baking to maybe cleaning or caring for the sick. There was a confidence that just was passed along from generation to generation. We don't always have the guidance that they did to learn these things. For many of us anyways, life just feels like a lot. Funny thing that we talked about in that episode, these old-fashioned skills were also a form of therapy, calming, joy-giving, and peace-producing. Now, I don't know that it goes for the learning process of these skills, but once learned and made a habit of, these can be helpful to the home, to finances, relationships, and your health. The first thing I want to talk about is cutting hair for the family. I dove into cutting hair mainly for the financial aspect. First, I learned how to cut my husband's hair, and then I learned how to cut my boys' and then my girls' hair. Is it another thing to do? Yes, totally. But in reality, it takes just as long, if not longer, to schedule and make an appointment and try and get the kids there, and then have to take care of other kids that you might have there as well. So it has been a really big help to our family to know how to do this. I started out by having my kids sit for a very quick cut, and I just gave them a sucker afterwards. They knew they were going to get a little bit of a treat, and they would get to take a bath afterwards. And that was a great switch over for them because it made them feel like it was an exciting part of the day. Some great channels to check out for learning how to cut hair or style hair is Like to Style, Hair 101 with April, the Salon Guy, and the 1 Minute Barber. And I will be putting these channels that I talk about today in the information box below, so you can go down there and check them out and search for them. 4, you count with me then. 3, 2, 1. Last call. Oh, I got one more here. First aid. I don't know, but maybe it's because we have urgent cares on every corner now, it seems like. But even as someone who worked in the medical system for 10 years, I feel completely inconfident. I don't feel confident in first aid. It's something that even when you learn it, you still have to make sure you're practicing it to remember how to do it. And it's something to just constantly be learning over and over again to make sure you remember that you're doing things correctly. That's why people have to redo their CPR certification, because you forget things after a while when you're not constantly practicing it. Some great channels for learning first aid and even bringing in your kids to learn first aid are channels such as Skinny Medic, Operation Ouch, and there is a really great basic first aid and some science in the Operation Ouch channel that hopefully you can watch with your kids as well. Okay, in addition to the first aid thing, I have to admit, I like the idea of understanding how things that grow in our yard could even help in a medical situation. The idea of using herbs that we just have growing around our yard or property to treat wounds and infections, or even if we're out, say, camping or something, that has all but been lost. So reading old books, it's fascinating to hear how much Native Americans knew about each plant as the pioneers began moving westward, and they could help. Some of these pioneers, they would help them and they would save limbs and lives for them. It's very interesting just to hear how much they knew about the properties of these plants and how to use them. I personally have the goal to learn more and more about herbs, such as yarrow. Yarrow is great for bites and stings. It's great to help with those owies. Some channels you can take a look at for the natural side of first aid is the Homegrown Herbalist. The Homegrown Herbalist is also a vet, and he actually knows how to use herbs with animals. So you can look on his channel, not just for how to use herbs for your family's health, but also for your pet's health as well. Melissa K. Norris has also gotten into some of the herbs and how those can be implemented into your house for health reasons. Melissa K. Norris does a lot of homesteading stuff, and she does canning help. So I really dug into her channel when I was learning how to can. Another great channel to look at is Little Mountain Ranch. There are so many channels that pop up though. Once you begin to search for one channel and the YouTube algorithm sees what you are looking for, they will start to give you more ideas. And so it will bring more different options into your YouTube feed and possibly give you even more that you would be interested in. Man, I have to say that YouTube, as well as podcasts, were a lot of the main teachings that I got when I was first learning how to garden. I listened to things from Epic Gardener, who also has a YouTube channel, and also watched Roots and Refuge, which has great information on gardening. They do homesteading. And then the Beginner Garden Journey with Jill is a great channel to look at. I had just listened to so many of her podcast episodes about beginning gardening, and those are great as well. Charles Dowding is wonderful for learning how to do the no-dig method, which has been great for our property because we have so many viney weeds that come up and just will not stop coming into the garden. And that method has really helped suppress those weeds. The Epic Gardener is another great one, especially for short tutorials on specific questions about gardening. There are so many more though. Like I said earlier, once you search for one, YouTube will automatically give you more options, and then you kind of get a little bit more of what you're looking for. Going back to the whole idea of it being the beginning of a school year, I wanted to look a little bit at homeschooling. I know not everyone is schooling at home, but for those that are, there are so many different homeschooling channels on YouTube that can help give you ideas, especially for specific problems that you're having, for things that you might be questioning about your homeschool journey. Life in the Mundane has some videos on being a mom with ADHD. There's also some good videos from Mrs. Mom's Homeschool. You can look at Hinter Life Homeschool, Angela Braniff, Rooted in Rest, Tay Shabib, Brittany, Olga, and Science Mama. I know there's so many. I had a great list, and there's so many more that I love watching, but I thought I would give you some options. If you're looking for maybe trying to teach a child that has a sensory processing disorder, has special needs, has dyslexia, dysgraphia, ADHD, you're not sure how to incorporate multiple ages into the homeschool day, and you've got too much on your plate, these just have some great advice and kind of show you, especially if you're a beginning homeschooler, give you a little bit more confidence in what you're doing. I was just thinking the other day how different it is now working with money than it would have been long ago. We've been going through the Laura Ingalls series again. We seem to do that maybe once a year, just listening to it on CD. And I've been thinking so much about the differences in budgets and how to handle money and how you handle different parts of money with banks and accounts. And it's just so much more than it would have been 100 years ago. It's crazy to think that we don't get more teaching on this. So there are some great channels though on YouTube that really do give you a little bit more insight into how your money works and the choices that you make with your money and how that affects your life. There's The Ramsey Show, which is from Dave Ramsey, who is a very popular speaker on the topic. His daughter Rachel Cruz also has a great channel. But then there's other channels like The Budget Mom or Frugal Fit Mom who talk about money as well. The Cross Legacy has great videos on how to save your food waste, I should say. The Cross Legacy has great videos on reducing your food waste so that you can save money and organizing and streamlining your kitchen and how you store that food, all to help you be a better homemaker in saving your money and using it wisely. I've heard of so many people using YouTube to just inspire them basically to clean their house. Some people will turn on like a clean with me video, I think is what they're called, and they'll just clean their house while this video runs as they watch this other person clean their house. Because really, if you think about it, I remember as a kid inviting a friend over to help me clean my room. We just don't like to do that alone sometimes, and it's nice to know that someone else is doing it with us. But maybe you're looking for something a little bit more. Maybe you don't feel confident in cleaning at all. You just kind of do what you know how to do, and then you realize that there's a lot of missing holes in how you clean your house. The channel Clean My Space is very helpful with this. And then you go to the organizing aspect, and you can look up other channels that are basically just on decluttering and organizing your space. There's Christy Clover, there's The Minimal Mom, there's Clutterbug, there's so many different ones. Those are just a few to get you started. A few years back, I was just learning canning, and after I told my husband I would never do that, here I was doing it. We just adopted our daughter from Ukraine, and I didn't have much extra time to do canning, but I did happen to have a ton of apples that we had picked off of our tree. An older couple from our church heard that I had buckets of apples, and they came over for an afternoon showing me how to work fast in groups, chopping and boiling the apples for applesauce. They just knew their stuff. They had done this for years. I remember her talking about the visit after I'd been so appreciative and saying that that's what we're supposed to do anyway. You're supposed to teach the younger. Her giving that day just paved the way for me to really leap more into preserving. And I always look back at that with so much just appreciation and thankfulness. I really do find that the tips that they gave me that day and the way that I just got to watch it and see how it worked was so helpful. It brought joy and it brought food for our family. So my challenge today for you, right after I tell you that, you know what, you can go look at YouTube videos, is not just to go look at YouTube videos, but to share what you know and what you're learning to people that you know, that people who are in your community. That, I believe, is what we are supposed to be doing. So many other people can benefit from your knowledge, and you might not feel like it's much, but believe me, there is somebody who is going through something that you have already gone through, and you might not realize the wisdom and the experience that you possess because you've already been there and gone through it. It might be because you are a little bit farther along in mothering. It might be that you know a little bit more about gardening than somebody. Maybe it's that you can make really great planned ahead meals, that you can take care of wounds really well. And maybe there's a mom who is wondering, how do I get my car organized like you? You always seem to have your car so organized, and my car is just a mess all the time. Maybe there is a way that you can actually give some of your knowledge and some of your learning to someone else who will benefit from it. So that's my challenge as I leave you today. As we are starting this next school year, I challenge you to be a teacher to somebody around you and to share some of your knowledge with them, knowing that maybe you don't know it all, but you can give what you do know, and someone else will benefit from it. I hope that you take some of these channels and look into them, and that it just starts some more learning this year for you as well. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.